Hi everyone, and welcome once again. I am so excited this morning. We are starting to grow. I've already released a video showing you the supplies you need to winter sow, and I've already released a video showing you supplies you need to grow the traditional method. So today I wanted to do a quick video and show you the supplies you need for the soil block. So those three methods are what I do use, and hopefully you guys are going to be joining me on this Grow Along project. A lot of the schools are taking part in the traditional method, which is wonderful. Thanks guys for joining me. And if you do want to join me also with the soil block method, that's great. Let's get started. For the soil block method, there are many different recipes out there. If you went on, say, Google and Googled recipe for soil block, you're going to find all kinds of different stuff. I was first introduced to soil blocking about 4 years ago. I was following a lady on YouTube. Her name was Lisa Mason Ziegler, and Lisa has been farming for almost 30 years. And Lisa is restricted to how she grows her seeds because her farm is in the middle of a city, so she's not allowed to have any greenhouses. The soil block method, and that's one of the big benefits of it, you can grow and start your seeds in a small confined space. And for me, I don't have a greenhouse, not at the farm. I do have a couple little tiny ones here in my home garden, which I'll take down to the farm and use for propagating, making new plants, in case you don't know what propagating is, and we'll get into that more as we go. Like I say, for me, I do not have a large greenhouse, so I turn the bedroom into a grow room, which is, some people might think, well, that's fair size. Yeah, it's probably a bedroom that's 10 by 10, but when you grow it the scale that I'm growing, it fills up pretty quick, and you guys are going to watch me fill that room up like that. It'll be full. I did learn from Lisa about the soil blocking method, and Lisa's recipe was she used screen compost, screen peat moss, green sand. Remember my video? I said green sand, how weird is that? Crazy flower lady. So also she uses rock phosphate. In my experience, I've never seen this in any store or in Newfoundland. The first few years when I started soil blocking, I started experimenting, and I went to the dollar store and I did buy that cheap soil mix that they have there for, I believe it's $2.75, and it worked, but there's lots and lots of debris. I screened it, and then I started experimenting and trying to add some nutrients to this soil, and I did add bone meal and blood meal, and I found my blocks got moldy, so I stopped adding those nutrients to it. Then I started experimenting and seeing if ProMix would work. The blocks did not hold up. I think what it was, the ProMix was too fine. So this year I'm going to experiment again, because I'm looking for a cheap method, because if you're buying this, like I bought this last year because I put off a workshop and I wanted to show my students the proper method that I learned from Lisa. These two items on Amazon is over $50. I think it's almost $60. But time you put shipping and taxes, you're looking at close to $100. And I'm not willing to spend $100 on nutrients. So this year I'm going to experiment again. And that's how this is going to be. If you're growing along with me and you're watching and following me on YouTube, thank you. I'm going to do a lot of experimenting. I'm not a perfect grower. I can grow flowers like there's no tomorrow. Like I said many times, I'm not that great at growing vegetables, and that's my goal now, is to get better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment add ProMix and compost. And I'm going to screen both of it because with this blocker, which is a 20 count 3/4 inch blocker, the soil, it needs to be dense. I'm going to experiment and I will let you know how the ratio is going to go as I experiment. If you're out there and all you can get your hands on is the dollar store soil, that's fine. Just screen that, make sure it's screened, because you're going to be shocked how much debris is into it. And I did do a video, I believe it was when I showed you the supplies for the winter sowing, how much debris is in that soil. And I am going to, like I say, screen the ProMix, which doesn't have a lot of debris, but compost does. Now I do have some compost. I was fortunate enough that I remember the 1st of December, and I think I did a video, crazy video, telling you about how difficult it was to get it then, because the garden center they don't want to be going out there digging through the snow and trying to find some compost. But now Canadian Tire, I know they do keep their ProMix inside. So if you went to Canadian Tire and there was none on the shelf, just ask one of the sales associates and they'll go in the back and get it for you, because I've done that many times. Now I don't know if they keep compost on in, but doesn't hurt to ask. The green sand and the rock phosphate, it is a lot of money. Like, gardening is an expensive hobby, and if you want to go ahead and purchase that, that's great, but I'm a cheapo. Everybody knows me, know that. So I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try ProMix and I'm going to try compost. Well, compost is full of nutrients and ProMix has nutrients. So let's give that a try, see if that would be a cheaper method. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be mixing my soil in my garage, because I don't want to bring that into my kitchen here. I'll mix everything up into a container, and then I can come in here, water it, add the water to the container, and then I can do my soil blocks here on my kitchen counter without making a lot of mess. Yeah, we'll see about that. So anyway, with this method, you're going to need a container to hold your soil. So you are also going to need a soil blocker. Like I said, you can get this on Amazon for $24.99. Since I purchased this has been a huge game changer for me in my growing methods. My success is great. And I believe the only time that I have failed is not because of this blocker and not because of me, it's been because of seeds. Because you can buy seeds that are not mature, outdated, and so on. If you haven't gotten your soil blocker, I think it only takes like a week and a half to get it from Amazon. Great investment. I've got two actually, and also I got another one. It's a 2-inch one, but I don't use that. This is my favorite. This one is great for smaller seeds, and I can probably down the road show you all about the 2-inch one. You're going to need a container, you're going to need a soil blocker, and also a screener, something to screen your soil with. And I showed you a scoop, and you're going to need that scoop to put your soil in your tub. So once you have your soil in your container, you're going to make your blocks, and we're going to do that together. We're going to be soon starting. Within the next week, I'm going to be starting seeds. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I got a funny story to tell you. So last spring, I decided to put off a workshop, and it was called Seed Starting, Traditional and Non-Traditional Method. Nadine is watching this and she's saying to herself, uh-oh. So when I started this workshop, everyone introduced themselves. was a lady there. Her name was Nadine. And she had came all the way from Stephenville to take part in my workshop. And I live in Grand Falls, and I was shocked that this lady would drive all the way to do my workshop. But I saw something special in Nadine. She has the passion for growing. It's a bug, Nadine, and you got it, and you got it bad, just like me. So when I started my workshop, I first did the traditional method, and I could tell that Nadine was right interested into this. Then we finished the traditional method. Then I bring out my saw blocker. And Nadine's there laughing now as she watches this video. And I could see their expression on her face. And she told me afterwards, the first thing popped in her mind, what in the name of God is that contraption? I won't be needing that. Guess who got herself a saw blocker? Nadine's going to be growing in a small space. I thought she said she's going to be growing in her bathroom downstairs. So, like I said, saw blocker for small spaces is awesome. So after the workshop, I talked to my brother, and I told him about this lady that had came all the way from Stephenville. Well, my brother lives in that area, and he knew Nadine and her family. And he had told me some unfortunate thing that had happened to Nadine and her family. Nadine had, a couple years prior, had lost her son to cancer, and he was only 14 years old. That was heartbreaking. So I did plant a memory tree at my farm. It's a lilac tree in memory of Connor. And then over the summer, me and Nadine became very good friends. We used to communicate and be texting. Sometimes we would call each other. Sometimes she'd send me little videos of her garden. So that was awesome. And Nadine grows in a small space, and she does a lot of container gardening, which if you don't have a lot of room, guys, and you are interested, Container Garden 2 is for you. So back in November, I reached out to Nadine, and I asked her if she was interested, her and her family, in becoming flower farmers for a day. And Nadine, when I was telling her this, she's like, I got shivers going all over my body. She was so excited. So Nadine's gonna come stay with me here in Grand Falls for 2 nights, and her and her family is going to the farm, and they're going to be flower farmers for the day. And in June, I believe they're coming. So I'm so looking forward to that, and that's going to be interesting. So now let's get back to this soil blocking. So once you have your soil filled in your blocker, what we're going to do is we're going to be putting them on trays. These trays, you can go to a grocery store and ask them if they would sell some to you. Now, I know Jim's Grocer over here in Windsor, in Grand Falls, Windsor, they have some of these trays packaged up on their shelf. I don't know if it's 10 or 20 in a pack, and they're not expensive. So this one is your small tray that will hold 20. So like when I go to Noah's Farm now at the end of February, each person is going to go on with one of these trays, and they're going to have 20 bell pepper seeds sown on this tray. Now there's different sizes, so that's 20. If you want to do 40, this size tray, I'll do 2 sets of blocks, so that's 40. Now for me, growing as much as I do, I use this size, and this size will hold 120 sales. So that's great if you're growing lots. And guys, whatever you do, if you're a home gardener, you don't need this size and put 120 tomato plants on this. Nobody needs 120 tomato plants. Now, the reason why I try to use these is because these have a very low lid. Now, if you are stuck and you're going to use something like this has a very high lip. So what happens is you're going to be watering these daily. Now you can use something like this, and this is what I use to water my trays with, and I'm going to show you that. We're going to do all this together over and over and over. So guys, you guys are going to be experts at this. Or some people do spray, top spray. I like to do this method with watering with the can. So what's going to happen is that when this is filled full of straw blocks in the channels, you're going to put your water in, and that's going to come very wet and very slippery. So you're going to have to drain that water off by tipping this. I find with this that is really, really deep, you have to tip it really high, and sometimes that they will slide off. So that's why I prefer the lower lip, and we will get used to doing all this together. Then once you have all your blocks on your container, you're going to need some, this is what I use, white painter's tape. And if you don't have white, you can use green. So what I'll do is just tear off a strip, put on there what I've sown, so type of plant, the date that I sowed the seeds, and then I can watch for germination. That's one thing that I do. Another thing, when I'm sowing my seeds, and I showed you guys this in the traditional method, so toothpick, container of water, and a container to put my seeds in, so that helps make everything flow quite smoothly. And you're gonna find when you're doing this, starting your seeds this way, it's so therapeutic. I've had a number of people do this with me, and it's so relaxing and calming. It's just unexplainable feeling, but you guys will find out all about that. Thanks guys for joining in again. Next time you see me, I'm going to be planting seeds. Oh, it's so wonderful. And it's going to be either winter sowing, traditional method, or soil blocking. Stay tuned. We got lots and lots of seeds. We got lots of growing to do together. Take care, guys, and love you all.